You've obviously heard what's happened here in the Kelowna area today. We've had a Cessna Citation crash. I know you can't speak to this crash specifically, but given your experience, what is currently happening, do you think, right now as far as the Transportation Safety Board when it comes to the investigation?
Well, first of all, the police obviously respond and they take control and put a perimeter around the accident site. And then the safety board puts together a team, probably a team of 3 or 4 in a case like this, and they'll send some investigators out to the site. And once they get there, they'll liaise with the police force and determine whether there's any particular reason for the police force to stay involved. And if not, then the TSB will take control of the site and they'll start their investigation process.
And what does that look like, the investigation?
Well, it's many phases, and there's a big long checklist, and the guys who do it, the people who do it, guys and girls, know how to do it. They've worked at it for a long time, and so there's a process, and they stick with the process. They start to gather. First of all, there's 2 main responsibilities that they have to start off with. One is to protect perishable evidence, anything that might disappear. And the second thing is to start looking right away for anything that they might suspect will involve more than just that one airplane. In other words, if there's a systemic safety issue, then they have to look for that so they can prevent the same accident from happening again. So that's the first things that they do. And then they'll start to look at things off-site too, like the maintenance records, where the airplane came from, the airport it departed from. They'll go and interview witnesses, all that sort of thing. And then they'll start looking at the maintenance records of the airplane, and maybe I said that already. They'll start looking at the air traffic control. They'll get all the tapes secured, anything that's a record there, radar tapes plus communication tapes. And then they'll look at the weather. They'll get the weather forecasts and the actual weather for the whole area and so on. And then, of course, they'll get the pilot's records, and they'll go to where the pilots came from and start getting the information on the pilots. And then, of course, the big thing is they have to go to the accident site and start documenting what's there so they can see if they can find any clues as to what might have happened in the airplane.
How long does this process take, this investigation?
Well, there's different phases of it. Obviously, the field phase, what we call the field phase, depending on the terrain and how difficult it is to get in there and how long it takes to recover the wreckage and so on. Typically, out in the field, it can take a number of days to a week. Sometimes it can take 2 weeks. I mean, it depends. It depends. Yeah. And then the investigation itself, of course, the actual analysis of the investigation takes a long time. I would say that it'll be a year before you find out the official recorded actual cause. Now,
so what do you know about these Cessnas in general, these Cessna citations?
Well, I know they've been around a long time. Even back when I was flying, they had Cessna citations, and they're a really good, reliable airplane. They're a business jet, kind of small airplane, 2-engine business jet, and they have a good reputation.
Yes, what's their safety record like?
Oh, I would have to look that up. As far as anecdotally, their safety record is very good. The accidents are typically mechanical, operational, or environmental, and or some combination thereof. So I think you'd find quite a spread, the same as you would for any other type of airplane. If they're going to have an accident, it'll be for one of those 3 reasons or some combination.
Okay. What about, I know some people have talked about the possibility of a black box. Do those exist in a Cessna?
You know, I don't know if that particular airplane would have one or not. I think the more modern ones do. I understand this one was pretty old, and I wouldn't be able to say off the top of my head whether they have data recorders. I know that in airplanes, they have equipment in there that has what they call non-volatile memory potential, like there's computer chips and so on. And if you're really lucky, you can get some computer chips from the wreckage and download information, which is somewhat similar to what you would call the black box or the flight data recorder or cockpit voice recorder. But I honestly, I don't know whether this airplane would have either one of those.
And that would obviously help further the investigation if they could get that key piece of information from a computer chip?
Yeah, absolutely, it would. Anything that you can get for factual information is obviously going to be helpful, so it's certainly better to have that than to not have it.
Well, thank you very much for chatting with me. I appreciate that and kind of sharing your knowledge on this particular incident. I appreciate that very much.
Oh, it's no problem. I'm glad I could help some.